Like Jay Cho, music is his main thing. But right now, what's he doing? He's doing all these businesses. He's doing art.
Yeah.
NFTs.
Right? NFTs. He's opening up like a coffee business.
Which I find problematic. Artists joining NFT. Okay, welcome back to Wise and Shine with the crew. How are you guys doing?
Good morning, everyone.
So thank you for joining us every Monday with me, Reggie. I'm your host, aka your chief financial coconut, and we have...
Hi, my name is Eric, Mr. Positivity.
Mr.
I've decided. It's
branding.
After a few episodes.
Branding,
yeah.
okay.
Because he wants you to follow him on TikTok, that's
Yes.
why.
Okay,
and I'm
yes.
Dawn,
Thanks for the
Budget
shout
Babe, the OG.
Yeah.
Also they say.
OG, woohoo! And we have a special guest in the house. Consider a special guest in the house because he's not usually on our set, right? So yeah, but I think the listeners kind of know you.
Through the other show.
Through the other shows, yeah. So
I'm Andrew, the passerby.
Yo!
If you're talking about IG at Andrew Chan. Branding very important.
Very important, yes. Yeah, Andrew essentially he was recording pre us.
Right. So check out Chill with TFC.
Yeah, check out
That's called cross promo.
Yeah.
And then we're like, hey, how about you just join us, come and have some fun, right? So today we're gonna talk a little bit about this thing called hustle culture, which is a bit heavy, because I think recently there's been a lot of discussion around how hustle culture is hurting people, but it's interesting because in the earlier days of hustle culture, it's like a thing.
Yeah.
Like you take pride in this, right? Like, yeah, you gotta hustle, make a difference, do your thing, right? So you see people record first set, still continue join us, record second set. It's like hustling, right?
Hustling hard.
Yeah, hustling very hard. So but you start to see the public narrative shift also. Even the government has taken a different position, right? I think was it Chan Chun Sing. You're saying, it's okay not to be okay. I think there's a campaign going around, right? It's okay not to be okay. I was on MRT. I was like, what? So fashion forward, right? Because for a long time we were, just hustle, do it, like from Fishing Village to First World, blah, 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 those kind of thing, right? So it embeds into a lot of the local culture, but you start to see the tides turn. So before we begin on today's discussion, right? So define hustle culture. Like what is hustle culture and what are your bases of it?
So we were having this conversation earlier to this, right? And I think it's important to differentiate hustle versus hustle culture. So when we hustle, typically it's because we like doing it. Right, we
Really?
want to do something. Yeah, at least for me, I
Okay,
blog outside of work because I liked writing and I felt that my work wasn't giving me enough chances to write. So I would hustle outside of that to write and do the stuff that I like. And also because my husband will always complain. He always says that, I am like someone who always needs to be very busy and busyness is like my badge of honor. That's what he says. And then the thing is that hustle culture has now evolved, right? Such that hustling is no longer the rare few people who do it. Now, what the word culture means is a set of norms. And it means that hustling has become so much a norm in today's society that almost everyone is doing. And if you don't do it, then you're the odd one out. There's something wrong. Like maybe you're privileged, you don't have to hustle for money. Or you have a different circumstance that warrants you not hustling. Yeah, and I think that's why all the conversations have started coming out. Because before this really becomes an ingrained culture, maybe we should start talking about it.
Yeah. 3 p.m. afternoon tea at Ion, right? With Vanessa, Harry, those people. And they just sit down there and just talk about everything under the sun. Not hustling at all. just chilling and enjoying themselves, right? But what about the others? Like, how about I think we should set the tone, right? What is hustle culture
I first heard of hustling or hustle culture in the entrepreneur scene. And it was a very positive word. I mean, it was a great thing, right? Because we all learn about 10,000 hours, right? Talent is a myth. Malcolm Gladwell say that. So if you clock the hours, you will be successful. And even for people who have a 9-to-5 job, right? But you may not be very happy, but your 5 to 9 is your hustling time, where you hustle for a side job so that the side job in future become your main job. So in my era, hustle culture and hustling is a very positive thing because you're working for your dreams and passion.
Which era?
Ouch.
Not too far. So it's like probably in the 2000s. Okay, let me try it. I've heard about hustle culture from Gary Vee.
Exactly.
So that would
Big
be
fan.
our era.
Yeah.
I want people to be happy and be self-aware. Do I believe that work ethic is a foundational piece of success? Yes, I do. Do I want anybody ever to work so much that they get depressed? Of course not.
Gary
Yeah.
Not a
Vaynerchuk.
big fan, but please.
Oh, you're not a
continue.
fan.
So I think it's a branding thing. It's a concept that's been marketed and it obviously appeals to a certain group of people, right?
Yeah.
And therefore it became a thing by itself. And now we kind of go too extreme into it and it becomes a culture. And then we talk about the other issues that come up from hustling too hard.
So I think that's where the distinction is. Entrepreneurs, I'm speaking about entrepreneurs, we happily hustle because we have a purpose, right? But now everyone is hustling. They have no
I
choice.
won't say I happily hustle, you know. I just hustle. It's like, what's there to be happy?
No, and that, you see, Reggie, and that view is the other camp, which are being forced to hustle because of remote working. Because you think about it, back then, right, you basically 9 to 5, you can clock out, right? But right now you're working at home. There is no boundary anymore from work and home. And so people sometimes inevitably just get forced to work longer hours. And sometimes the work culture also rewards you, you know, or you work longer, it means you're a good employee. So people work longer. But the key thing is that it's the intention behind it. If you're working hard, but you're working for your future and you're happy about it, I think it's positive. But if you're working hard, but you're forced to because everybody is doing it or your boss insists it and you don't know how to stop working because you're working from home, then I think it's negative.
I also want to point out the difference between working hard and hustling, right? Because we were talking about it. And so it seems that from the definition, hustle will mean something else outside of work that you're working hard for. Outside of your, whether it's a 9 to 5 job or something else. Because I can be working hard in my job, working from morning to night.
But that could be a side hustle, right? And your
Right.
job is your
Main
main
hustle.
hustle, right?
Can.
And some people is like, my job is my side hustle. You know,
And their side hustle.
the side hustle is my main hustle. Have you seen the people? You know, like
Yeah.
once they leave the job, it's like, whoa, I'm gonna start this thing, right? So I think both can be seen as a hustle, you know. But I do want to get a bit of more clarification between what is a hustle culture and what is hustling. Like what is the difference? Anyone?
Why look at me? Because I'm the
Both of us turn to
the
look at
provider.
her.
Because you're grammar Nazi, right?
Yeah, I think because
She's
like
the GP expert, right? She set the tone.
the one setting the boundaries.
Yeah. Definition.
Yeah, I think it's like if you hustle because you want to, then that's hustle. But if you hustle because you feel like you have to, and that pressure or that it's not motivation anymore, that it's that pressure, right? That push is coming from external forces, then it becomes hustle culture. That's how I would define it.
Okay.
So, which means in a scenario whereby if today you have 3 hours to spare, will you spend it napping? Or will you spend it hustling on your, whether it's your main or side? I would spend it on my hustle.
No, the people in this room are actually hustlers.
Yeah.
Right? Reggie to Eric to Dawn.
Why?
Really? All of you are doing so many things. Right? I mean, Dawn, you have a full-time job and you're blogging, you're doing Instagram. Eric, same, you're doing TikTok in the main job. You're hustling what? You're running your own business, doing so many different
I
things.
just want a nap. If you give me 3 hours today, I just want a nap. Right. But okay, wait, back on the definition of you're fundamentally hinging on intention, right? Whether is this, are you intending to do this, or are you kind of forced in the broader
Correct.
culture, right? Because like Kiasu is a forced culture, right? Like
Yes.
like rushing on the MRT is a forced culture, right? Because you don't rush, right? So there's all that stuff. So it's like it's not your intention to rush, but you're kind of like chugged along.
Yes,
Right.
unwillingly.
Right, unwillingly.
Yeah.
So you're chugged along, right? So then how do I then know that, this is it's my intention, like I want to do this? Like what are some parameters and some signs?
Basic. Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I think if you can feel
Yeah.
it.
No, but the thing is, right, like you say, it's basic because there are times when you don't enjoy it, but you kind of have to do it because it's part of the hustle. You know what I mean? Like when you writer's block, when I create content and then I'm like, but I cannot take that moment as a valuation that, this is a hustle that I want. Because on the grander scheme of things, I do enjoy the hustle, right? I hate replying clients' email. Hey, sorry. I always come back with all sorts of weird things. Sorry, 就是你. Yes. if you are feeling it, then you know it's you, I tell you, right? But there are some things within a hustle that I hate. Then there are other things that I do like. And in a package in a hustle, whether is it like your work or your side hustle, there are things that you like and things that you don't.
So maybe if we break it down, right? I think number one is there a purpose behind it? Are you hustling because you want to have a brighter future for yourself? Are you hustling because everyone is doing it? So that's one. Number two is, you might say that, not all our work is enjoyable, right? But if you add up everything, the net, right, is that does your work energize you? So physically you might be tired, but inside you, you feel like, wow, I'm happy. Actually, that's what happiness is. There's a difference between happiness and pleasure. Happiness doesn't always mean good feelings. Happiness just means that, wow, I did a hard day of work for a purpose. I've grown, I've expanded. Okay, I'm tired, I will rest, but wow, that was a great day. That kind of energy. If you're energized by that, I think go for it. Yeah, but if you feel drained, you feel tired, you have a lot of exhaustion, not physically, but mentally exhausted, emotionally exhausted, then maybe something for you to think about, that maybe we are kind of on the wrong path, because those emotions are not bad. They're just there, a signal that maybe you're probably not doing the right thing or it's not aligned to your values anymore.
That's the next episode, recording 2 on today.
See, planting seeds.
Planting next episode.
Check out the next episode.
Yeah, check out
Negative
next episode.
emotions, bad.
But I think that's a really good point. We need to recognize that not all work, right? Even if there is always a bigger purpose or a bigger value to it, there will be good times and bad times.
Yep.
But I think how you feel even during and after the bad times, right, can give you a hint.
Well said.
Yeah. So like for example, for me, I mean, I can relate right? When I blog, I love getting
And then the email
sponsored
comes
posts.
in.
Yeah, like yes, I love it because finally I'm being paid to write.
Yes.
But
yes.
I hate having to meet the client deadline, give them, and then keep working on the different rounds of changes. And sometimes when I have to fight for certain changes that I don't want them to remove or I want to be in, it gets very tiring, right? And I hate that. But at the end of the day, when that's over and done with, I feel so fulfilled. I feel so proud that, and I'll be out there on my Instagram saying, you guys must read this. I fought really hard for this to happen. I'm super glad I worked with this. It was super technical and I struggled through it, but I'm really glad this piece is out today. Go and check it out. And that sensation after that, it helps me to reaffirm that, this is really what the hustling, not hustle culture for me. It's hustling because it's towards a bigger value, towards the bigger brand, the vision that I want to bring on my blog, on my socials. And if you're someone who you just go through all that day, very sian part of work, and after that you're like, I wish I could quit my job. I wish I didn't have to do this anymore. Then I think that is hustle culture. Because you can feel that pressure coming from outside. And even after you finish the bad stuff, you don't feel energized, you don't feel fulfilled. Do you feel that way?
No, I know what you're saying. No, my sweet spot is on set. And I'm great on set. I like it. I come out, I feel like very high after set, right? So I love that.
But to manage the back end, the ME, right?
all the other stuff, all the weird things that people do. They're like, why can I like that one, right? So there's a.
But once the finished product is out there, how do you feel?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy it. Yes, that I think that there's some validation to it. But the reality check is that sometimes what you enjoy don't pay you.
Yeah.
Right, so like, and that's, like, because I hate to go down the path of like, just focus on what you love, what you enjoy. But we're all speaking on slightly privileged ground that whatever we love and enjoy is paying us decent on some level.
And that we are good at it.
Yeah,
because sometimes your passion project, some people love singing, but they really cannot sing.
Yeah. But you should still pay me more, lah, right? But the idea, but I think that's where I want to kind of drive it a little bit, where we are trying to make it a little bit more practical, right? Like you cannot be loving everything that you do in that sense, right? It's considered a privilege when you enjoy the hustle and then you are paid decently well to live a life, in that fashion, right? But what about the many people that don't? How do they then manage this whole like pressure from hustle culture? Or
Maybe
manage the
let's
pressure.
frame the mindset. So I think the easiest way is if you cannot do anything about your environment, you change yourself. So if you're in an environment where you're hustling because you're forced to, the people around you or the culture requires it, you can change the way you think about it. Try to find a bigger purpose. Try to find something that makes it worth doing. Yeah, it might not be something so immediate. Maybe for some people, it's very monetary. Like, I'm doing this so that I can quickly clock my 100K income at the end of 2 years,
At the end of
and
25 years
then
old,
quit
35
and
years
go to
old.
another job. Yeah, so if you can set that path for yourself, I think it'll make it more worth doing.
So then it's really about depreciating the pain of the hustle and trying to focus on the bigger goal. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you see, how many of us like studying? Nobody, right?
I actually want to raise my hand. I actually want to raise, but I felt like no one's raising. I don't want to raise hand.
No, the thing is,
It depends on what subject
exactly.
also.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, all
right.
Yeah, how many, let me rephrase the question, how many of us like going through the Singapore education system which forces you into a one-time only national exam, you fail it, you've spent a whole year to repeat it, or...
That's another episode.
the answer is quite simply no, right? But we all did it because we knew that getting that cert would bring us somewhere.
Yeah, shout
So
out to
it makes
Chan Chun
meaning.
Sing, right? Like, you should come on the show. We're waiting for you. You can go on other talk show. You can come on our show.
We'll tag him
we'll
on
tag you. We'll
Instagram.
tag you. Okay. Distribution. Please remember tag. Yeah. So.
I love what she said, So that means like if you can't control your environment, you control the internal environment, right? Your mind, right? Your emotions. So what you said was to make purpose out of your hustle.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. And
That's
then
good.
blending that with what you said about the 10,000 hours making you a real talent.
Yeah.
I really think that works. At least in my case, like I don't really like studying. I like to study, but I don't like exams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, why do you have to test me? Just take it that I know lah. Although I can understand why it's needed. But like, I was really bad at math, at Chinese. Yeah. 对不起老师.
对不起, yeah.
So, but I still got A. And I'm not because I'm showing off.
Because you
I'm,
hustle hard for it.
Yes, I hustled really hard for it. So like Chinese, for example, right? I actually failed my Chinese prelims. So what I did was, I went to go and talk to this student who was A, always A1, and I asked him how he did it. And then after that, in the 2 months leading up to it, I was watching Channel 8 dramas and forcing myself to use my hand to block the subtitles so I wouldn't rely on the English ones. And I was listening to J Cho songs and forcing myself to be able to read every single lyric, because if you can read J Cho lyrics, you're on a different level.
Because
right?
J Cho does not even pronounce his lyrics properly.
His words are not
Yeah,
easy
yeah, it's
either. And I
horrible,
did
yeah.
that. It was very torturous for 2 months. But when I got my A, I was like, that all paid off. And I think that is the difference. So you may not always like what you're hustling for, but if you recognize that it will bring you somewhere else, you get a certain reward and that energizes you, then it's okay.
Okay, so best case scenario is you love your hustle, it's paying you well, it's helping you achieve your goal.
perfect,
Tak,
yeah.
tak, tak. Woohoo, life's good, you can turn off.
But even if you love your hustle, there are aspects of it that you don't love.
Yeah.
And it's still fine because net you still
Net,
enjoy
net,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I get that part, right?
Yeah.
And definitely there are some things that you can do to then kind of mitigate those things, but that will be going into the nitty-gritty of it, right? Which we can do in other episodes, right? So that is the best case scenario. Net, you love everything, you're paying you well, achieving your goals. The second tier of decent position to stand is you may not fully love your hustle, but it is helping you achieve the broader goals that you want to achieve. Right? So what if it is in a situation where you don't really love your hustle and it's not really helping you achieve your goals, but you are kind of stuck because you don't really have a lot of options to go for. Right? Maybe now in a broader landscape, right, when the economy is down, you can't really change around, and it takes maybe some time to learn something. Like if someone wants to write, they call it write 1 year, 2 year to pick up some stuff. They got to learn new things, learn to code. All those things will take some time. Well, learn to code. Sorry. Learn to code is a very stigmatized rubbish at this point in time, right? It's like, oh, you're not getting paid well. Learn to code. It's like you're not progressing. Learn to code. But anyway, so all those things take some time. So what would be your thoughts for people like that, right? They are being suppressed in the hustle culture. They don't like what they do, and they're not achieving the broader goals that they're trying to go for, given where they are.
Well, then I'll say they have to try to make meaning out of that circumstance or that situation. So a very good question that they can ask themselves is, okay, I can't control my environment, my circumstances. Number one is they need to see that it's not permanent. I think it's very important to understand that it's temporary, because the minute you think that this is permanent, then you have just lost all hope. So you got to understand that even a stock market, right? If you zoom in, you see a down, but if you zoom out, it's up, right? Yeah. So guys, zoom out and tell yourself that it's temporary. That's one. Number two, ask yourself this question, a very constructive question. How can I still make the best out of it? And then you make your own meaning depending on your value. So like if I go through this, learning is a very important value to me. So obviously my answer would be, you know what, I'm going to learn from it, and one day I will share with people how not to be in my situation. Maybe that will be how I do it. So all of us will answer it differently, but the answer will give us that willpower and resilience to go through this temporary down moment.
Yeah, I think moderating it is also the other way to go. Like, I mean, when I first started, right, my day job was paying me the main bulk of my money. And
Can drop numbers?
No.
Is it median or below median?
Don't tell you. Okay, but anyway, I can name my first job. I was earning 2K take home for my first job.
My God. But when was that?
That was my first job when I graduated from uni.
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, yes. Please continue.
So, like, at that era also, if you guys remember, right, blogging doesn't make money. The only people who were being paid for blogging was like Xiaxue and Chu Chu. That was it.
Yep.
Right? And everyone else was like, meh. Even if you had a lot of followers, you didn't make money. That was the sad reality. But, I mean, because you just keep doing it, we must also recognize, right? Simon Sinek has this very powerful vision that when you keep doing the right things, things will just naturally happen, and there will be new opportunities that open up that you didn't even expect. So luck only comes to those who are prepared, right? And you need to keep doing. Because I just kept blogging, like who knew that advertiser sentiment would start to shift to online? And blogs would then start to be the beneficiary of it. And now we're in a situation today where people who started blogging only in recent years can very quickly go on to get paid sponsored stuff because the ground has been already set. But if they started out during the older era, like during Xiaxuan and Chu era, it was so difficult to get sponsorships. And I'm guessing, right, the amount that they earn from blogging, maybe in like the first 5 years, it could be nothing compared to what a newbie earns in the first year now. Because times have changed so much.
Yeah, it's true. And some people ask me, like, how do I grow the podcast so quickly? I said, I didn't grow the podcast very quickly. The ground was already consolidated, right? You have Seedly, Dollars and Cents, and, even yourself, right? A lot of these people have already coalesced online and in certain groups, certain forums, certain spaces. And I just put it there. And then, as long as you're of a decent quality, you kind of write to.
Yeah.
Right? And relative to when there was no ground.
But if you had started 10 years ago,
there won't be an audience for you.
Yeah, you got to download MP3 file. Oh my god, there was a time. Right?
Say like Napster still.
Oh my god, Napster. Memories.
Pirate your podcast.
LimeWire.
Oh my god, don't know. Okay, control yourself. You just graduated 2 years ago.
Or be like Andrew and work at work at a firm that allows you to do podcasting rather than doing it on your own. Because the resources then, that's the only way, right?
That's your main hustle.
Yeah, if you had to redo it, would you have done your own or...
Oh, in terms of podcasting and radio? Or the way I see it, because we are on this hustle topic, right? Because my main job is being a radio DJ. And I see doing podcasting as a natural extension of that. So if you are talking about, doing a side hustle, well, this is a side hustle that's actually correlated to the main thing. And you mentioned Jay Cho, right? So like Jay Cho, his main stage is singing, performing. Music is his main thing. But right now, what's he doing? He's doing all these businesses. He's doing art.
NFTs.
Right? NFTs. He is opening up like a coffee business.
Which I find problematic. Artists joining NFT games. It's not real.
Okay, but take away NFTs. There's so many artists that are opening up businesses. F&B usually. Right? JJ Lin with the coffee and all that. So it feels like a natural extension of a brand that he's really built. But you can say that they're hustling. But of course, they're slightly in a more privileged position. Whereas Reggie was talking about like people who has to hustle hard to get to a place where you don't have to hustle anymore. Or at least make a choice of whether you want to hustle.
And I do believe that's the bulk of the people. Right. And all these high level kind of like, oh yeah, I believe, right? So it's like I think there's some base practicality, right? So any thoughts on that?
So it's hard, and going back to Dawn's point, you have to hustle to a point whereby you can make a choice of whether you want to continue hustling or not. It's not easy. It's not going to be easy. You mentioned it takes time. So let it take time. But of course, choosing the right hustle is very important. I mean, in retrospect, it's so easy to say that blogging was a great choice back then. But who knew, man? When you were in the middle of it, what if it didn't amount to anything?
I would still have done it.
You would still have done it? Even if it didn't pay you?
Yeah.
Right
it's just
now,
that
today,
I would have...
It will not be your main hustle.
It would have been a lot less.
The motivation factor will limit you, right? You're not as motivated.
No, so I think my motivation came from intrinsic values. Like I like writing, so I would still do it. But if I didn't have the money pushing it on, at some point in my life, I'll be like, okay, I only have 1 hour now. Do I go and work with that 1 hour and earn like from tuition or something else, or write on my blog, which earns me nothing?
Right. So that's the thing. Like picking the right hustle is very important as well. Right, but you don't know until you reach the point whereby you look back and you know whether it's a good choice or not.
I want to add on to something you said. Like, he talked about how some people are in a privileged position. You raised Jay Cho as an example. I'm sure Jay Cho also had his challenges, but it's very easy for the rest of us to just look at those who are privileged. That's privileged, that's why you can do it. But we need to also recognize that there are different difficulties whichever path that you take. And what difficulties did Jay Cho have to go through? I mean, I don't know, maybe some people think he's very good looking. But he's not my type of good looking, okay? So I can imagine like he may have struggled with his looks compared to other artists. But he still hustled hard.
Yeah, he definitely hustled hard in music, learning how to compose. And that was the process when he started out.
And eventually his talent showed beyond his just his looks, right? But we were in that era where, remember, everyone looked at the face and you're like, oh, you look good, so I shall listen to you.
I think it's still in the era. Like, this era does not change, right? Like, it's fundamental in media, right? I mean,
correct.
If you don't write well, you cannot be full time. If you don't look good, you cannot model. I mean, there's some fundamentals. Don't cancel me, okay? You can come on my show, we can talk, right? But there are some if I don't sound good, you will not listen, right?
Yeah.
So there's some fundamentals in every craft and particular direction that you choose to go for, right? But I want to kind of push this discussion down this path that when in my worldview, I'm sure all of you have heard of the lay flat situation, right? Lay flat, quiet quitting, all these things. And to me, hustle culture is just on the other side. So they all hinge on the same pivot, right? So it's if you want to put it down in a idea that people understand, it's a fight or flight response, right, to the general disdain of your life today, right? You don't like where you are, you're uncomfortable where you are, and you either lay flat, and I've done it, I don't want to do anymore, I'm done. Or you take down the other, also equally toxic path of just hustle it out, right? And to me, that's kind of how I see it. And any views on trying to pair these two things together so you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
And okay, so let's see we get you right? So you're saying that people had a general disdain of their current situation, their status quo, they're not happy. Two choices. One is you just give up, just lay flat, right? Resign. Or
which I don't think
hustle.
is a natural process, right? People probably try first,
but they fail, and internally they kind of give up.
I'm done, that kind
after
of thing. 3
tries,
yes,
that kind, right?
Yes.
But then the other
Maybe
flip
more
side
lah,
is
maybe
that
3 tries out.
yeah, like game like that, right? But what you're saying is that the other side is, no, I hate this life, I'm gonna fight for it.
Yeah.
But and I get it why that is toxic. Because it's toxic because number one, if their intention is, their focus is on, I want to get out of this bad situation, their focus is on getting out of bad, the bad is still always going to be there.
It's always there.
Yeah, which is also a reason why people are, you notice that we always set goals, but we're never happy until we achieve that goal, right? And then we don't enjoy the process. And so I feel that isn't just for the small group of people. It's a lot of us who are very goal-oriented, very outcome-driven. And that's the negative part of a hustle culture. Because a hustle culture implies that we're only happy when we achieve the outcome based on our hustle. But if we can also enjoy the process, that the journey is the reward, then the hustling is great.
No, but I push you further to even say that embedded within this idea of a general disdain for your life, taking you down the hustle culture, even after you achieve, you're still unhappy.
Oh, wow.
Because the general disdain of why you even hate your current life is not fundamentally solved. You have not rectified, you have not targeted
the root source of it.
So you never target the root source, right? You just.
So it's just a compensation.
Yeah, so it's like if you got pimple, right? Always get pimple, then you just clean more, right? But you never change your diet, you never change the basic things inside.
I get you now.
Then you achieve very clean skin, but after a while you still hate it. It still affects your other aspects of your life. So same idea, which is why to me hustle culture is very problematic from two things, right? One is the general exhaustion. I think everybody can understand that, right? Like you go so much and then you just keep failing and it's very sian. And the other part is the sad part that even if you achieve, you still have a general disdain for your life. You still are not in a good place.
Well, then that's where inner work comes in.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that? Anyone?
So since I mentioned inner work, right? So I feel that at the end of the day, everything in life, right? Everything in life is to help us to evolve, to become a better person, to become the best version of ourselves. So we can't enjoy the external world if our internal world is disturbed. So I feel that it's disturbed, right? So right, the best example is like if the water is like very disturbing, right? Like how to say, very they're disrupted, a lot of big waves. You can't even see the reflection on the moon, even though the moon is beautiful, right? So to those people, I would say seek help. There's nothing wrong with seeking help to understand where at some point in your life you have made a conclusion that life is against you because of a particular event that happened. And you told a story that, you know what, life is against you and there's enough evidence to secure that, and that becomes your reality. And our focus is our reality. So very good point that Reggie brought up, that it's a lot deeper. It's not as easy. And that's also the reason why you hear successful people are still unhappy, right? It's because work is a compensation for something that did not get in their life. It could be their love from their father. It could be the love of themselves. So seek whatever help you can get to solve that.
Yeah, I think therein lies the paradox, right? When hustling is now a hustle culture, it becomes normalized and people now say that, it's normal to hustle. So any negative emotions or repercussions, it's just normal. Just deal with it. Just live through it, right? But that's the problem. We need to recognize that these are toxic, these are negative, and it doesn't do us any good. And that's why I think we are seeing a lot more conversations about mental health now. Last time it used to be if you go and seek therapy.
You sensing
IMH is it? Maybe you need to go IMH without therapy. But now it's so normal. It's becoming more and more common that people go and talk to a therapist to really iron out the stuff that's really disturbing them and shaking their internal world. And that helps them to achieve the kind of stability that they need to continue hustling.
Right. What's interesting is that every generation has its set of unique challenges, right? So you mentioned the whole lay flat tang ping, right? It's in response to the 996 culture that they have. 996? Is it
996? Yeah, 996.
Yeah,
correct.
996 is
6 days a week, 9
that
hours.
breeds certain culture, right?
Right.
996, yeah.
Yeah, and so previously we were talking about hustling hard, and that was during our era, because Eric mentioned our era, and now the younger generation with their own set of unique challenges, it's like, okay, is this a bit too much? And therefore they came up with the other extreme of it. But usually the answer lies somewhere in between. You have to find out that balance for yourself, right?
No, but I'm always very fascinated by these things because in my worldview, right, ideas don't drop from the sky. There must be a certain environment that breeds certain ideas, and certain interest groups are pushing certain ideas.
And the fact that many people, not just one person, experience it.
And the thing is, if you look from an organization point of view, it's so good that your people are hustling whether they like it or they don't, right? Because increased productivity, so that's the reality. But I don't think we're standing on their side speaking for them. We're speaking for the individuals. That the fact of the matter is that's why I say it's so important that you work hard for a reason. And the reason must be something that you're very clear of that reason and you're willing to sacrifice for that. Because if not, right, then you're essentially a slave.
Yeah.
A slave to whatever that you're working for.
Yeah, and it does not need to be high and mighty and
it doesn't
all
have
that,
to.
right? It could be a very practical reason, like what Dawn said.
Exactly.
Like, you're fighting for something else. This may not be the thing that you enjoy, and you eye on the bigger goal.
As long as it's a genuine reason for you, because going back to your point about whether you're hustling for yourself or just because of the culture, if you're force-fed, all the Gary V's mindsets, I have to hustle.
So it's unfair to hate the messenger because it's the people receive it with their own lenses, you see.
You have the choice of not listening.
I don't listen to it. That's why what is this guy talking about? So simplistic. Right? Come, Gary V, you come on the show, I debate you.
But they caught on and simple ideas spread.
Exactly, simple ideas spread.
Hustle, that's it.
Yeah, that's why just now when Eric was doing his spiel, I thought he was going to plug that's why you should listen to Wise and Shine. It's okay. Okay, so then if we just wrap up this discussion a little bit on the culture element, right? Because we've established from the start, hustle is a personal choice, but when it becomes a culture, it is something that's a little bit more external. Right? It's not within your control anymore, and a lot of things get normalized. Sometimes the pain, you get drowned out, or you're kind of made to drown it out, right? Because it's normalized. So then if someone does not want to participate in the hustle culture,
regain regain control.
Yeah. So how would you think of this?
So regain control by controlling their inner world, like what Eric said. Sometimes that may be admitting that you need to talk to a therapist. Sometimes for some people, just talking to a trusted close friend is good enough. But if you don't have good friends who are able to give you that emotional stability and response or matured response, then no choice. Same thing, if you don't have the privilege of such good mature friends like us, then it's okay to seek a therapy.
I'm a friend. So honored.
That's such a different perspective. I was just like, God, just shocked. Please continue this.
Yeah, so just really regain control by seeking out people or avenues that can help you. And then be conscious that hustle culture is causing you to feel all this negativity, and then either remove those negativity or get more control over them.
Nice. And
so as I said, if you can't control your environment, you control your interpretation of your environment. So by you telling yourself that this environment I'm in is temporary, you give yourself a time frame. I'm only going to be here for 1 year to get whatever experience, that make meaning, right? To get experience, to get the skills, to wait out the situation, and then I'm going to get out. If you keep telling yourself that story, then all of a sudden you realize that your pain is temporary. You would find yourself a lot of resilience and strength to withstand it and to go through it.
Nice. Andrew?
I think because the extreme response will be to unplug yourself from the system, right? I would say don't remove yourself from the system. Stay in it. There are certain aspects that will help you grow through the process, and through the process, whether it's talking to a friend, whether it's doing inner work or journaling or any form of helping you to understand what you really want, go through it because there's something in there for you.
I would say unplug from the system. Okay, so because my worldview is that all these things are different games, Right, so I heard of this line from a good friend of mine. I was like, wow, this is very interesting. She's a gamer, and she was like, if I don't like this game, then I play another game. Right, so and I think that is a very powerful idea because you're essentially externalizing the situation, right? You're pushing the situation as what it is, right? So this is the situation, this is the parameters, but it does not mean that I have to participate in it.
You control back to that person.
Right. So you then take control of whether like, okay, do I want to play this game or not?
Analogy. So stop seeing yourself as the game character and start seeing yourself as the gamer. Because sometimes we lost ourselves in the game and we forgot that we're not the game character, we're actually the gamer.
Yeah, that we can actually leave and play another game.
I'll say it, Reggie.
I'll give another
Wise.
perspective. Why do you even need to be a gamer? Why don't you design the game you want to play?
Matrix.
Wow.
This is Matrix level.
So the whole idea of zooming out, you see, is the zooming out and
Yeah.
having awareness.
But it takes a lot to design a game.
It does.
It takes a lot.
Architect,
That one we can talk about it another time. But at least
Play
I
a
think,
different game.
Yeah, play a different
Love
game.
it.
If
This
you
is
don't
a very
like
good point.
to like do the whole like hustle corporate culture, you can try something else. Right?
But don't get caught in the game such that you find yourself playing another game out of your own free will. Like for example, you was previously hustling hard and now I moved to lay flat. Like I moved to the extreme and I thought that I've exited the system. I've won the previous game. I'm not going to play this game anymore. But you find yourself playing another game, not because you want to.
Yeah, which ties back to the original, at least the anchor that I was talking about, which is a general disdain for your life.
Right.
And then that it becomes a reactionary process, right? But at the end, I think the reality in Singapore is that there are only a few games to play. We don't have a kampong, we don't have rural areas. You know, like Taiwanese always say, if it doesn't work, then 回去种树咯.
对咯，
Let's go be a farmer. So
the world is so big.
Yeah, no, but yes, exactly. So Singapore is not the only place to be. There are many other things.
Yeah.
And these days, the digital world has opened up a lot of options.
Yeah, and
right?
we're
So-
seeing it already.
Yeah, we're seeing it. So I think there's a lot more things to do. I recognize the limitations that you are feeling, but hope that after today's episode opens up your mind a little bit. Right?
And
Yeah,
before
the
we end
choices.
off, I just wanted to add on one more thing. When we think of privilege, right, in hustle culture, we can also zoom out further and think of how privileged we are to be in this era, this present time, with digital at our fingertips, with information at our fingertips, compared to the older generation.
Thank you. Lovely. Follow Wise and Shine. We'll see you next week.
It's a privilege to listen to Wise and Shine.
You see, you 来了。